Right now, somewhere in your pocket, your bag, or just sitting on the table next to you, there is a device more powerful than the computer that flew humans to the moon. Let that sink in for a second. The same computer that calculated the exact trajectory needed to leave Earth's atmosphere, travel 238,000 miles through the cold vacuum of space, land 2 human beings on an alien world, and bring them back alive, that computer is millions of times weaker than the thing you use to check your Instagram notifications. And the craziest part? Nobody talks about this. We just carry it around. We complain when it takes 3 seconds to load a video. We throw it in a drawer when we upgrade. We barely think about it. But today, we're going to think about it. Really think about it. Because when you actually compare these two machines, side by side, the numbers are so absurd, so mind-bending, that it stops feeling like technology and starts feeling like magic. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will never look at your phone the same way again. Welcome to BizarreVersus. Let's paint a picture. It is July 16th, 1969. The world is watching. 3 men, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins, are strapped into a rocket the size of a 36-story building, sitting on top of 5 massive engines that together produce 7.6 million pounds of thrust. The whole thing is basically a controlled explosion pointed at the sky. And guiding this insane, beautiful, terrifying machine is a computer. The Apollo Guidance Computer. The most advanced piece of technology ever built at the time. Engineers had spent years designing it. It was a marvel of human ingenuity. It was, in every possible sense, cutting edge. Now fast forward to today, you wake up, you reach for your phone, you scroll through your messages, check the weather, maybe play a song, translate a word in another language, take a selfie, edit a photo, send a video to a friend, and look up directions to a coffee shop, all before you've gotten out of bed. And here's the question nobody asks. How? How did we go from a computer that needed an entire room to one that fits in your hand? How did we go from a machine that could barely do arithmetic to one that can do almost anything? And just how big is that gap, really? The answer is more dramatic than you think. And it starts with understanding what the Apollo computer could actually do. Okay, let's go back to 1969. The Apollo Guidance Computer, the AGC, as engineers called it, was, by the standards of its time, nothing short of a miracle. And I mean that. The people who built it were geniuses working under insane pressure, solving problems that had never been solved before, inventing things on the fly that we still use today. But let's talk about what this computer could actually do. In real human terms, the AGC ran at a clock speed of about 2 megahertz. That's 2 million cycles per second. Sounds like a lot, right? I mean, million sounds impressive. But modern computers run at speeds measured in gigahertz. That's billions of cycles per second. We'll get back to that comparison in a minute because the numbers are genuinely absurd. Now, memory. The AGC had 2 types of memory. It had what's called ROM, read-only memory, where the programs were stored. That ROM held about 74 kilobytes of data. 74 kilobytes. For context, a single small JPEG photo on your phone right now is probably larger. And this is where things get crazy. The other type of memory, the RAM, the working memory used to calculate things in real time, was just 4 kilobytes. 4. That's 4,000 bytes. A text message, a single average length text message, is bigger than the Apollo computer's entire working memory. Now I want you to pause on that for a second, because it sounds impossible, doesn't it? How on earth could any computer navigate to the moon? The answer is extremely carefully, with ruthlessly efficient code written by some of the smartest people alive, every single byte accounted for. This wasn't software written for comfort. This was software written for survival. The AGC weighed about 70 pounds, roughly 32 kilograms. At the time, getting 1 pound of material into orbit cost roughly $10,000. So this computer alone cost hundreds of thousands just to lift off. It consumed about 55 watts of power. Your average modern light bulb uses 60 watts. The computer that navigated to the moon used less power. And in terms of what it could actually compute, the AGC could perform about 40,000 additions per second. That was extraordinary for 1969, that was the best humanity had to offer, and the astronauts trusted their lives to it. But here's the part nobody tells you. Even during the moon landing itself, the AGC started throwing error codes. Do you know the 1202 alarm? As the Eagle lander was descending, the computer started flashing error codes. Alarms that nobody in mission control had ever seen in a real flight. For about 90 seconds, 90 of the most tense seconds in human history, mission controllers and astronauts had to decide, do we abort? And ultimately, thanks to a 26-year-old software engineer named Jack Garman, who had memorized that specific error code and knew it wasn't fatal, they kept going. Armstrong and Aldrin landed, but the computer, the best computer in the world at the time, was straining under the weight of the task. Now, let's talk about your phone. The iPhone. Let's use a recent one as our benchmark. Let's say an iPhone 15 with Apple's A16 Bionic chip. Though honestly, the same story applies to almost any smartphone made in the last 5 or 6 years. Clock speed, up to 3.46 gigahertz. That's 3460 megahertz. Remember the Apollo computer ran at 2 megahertz? Your iPhone runs at 1,730 times that clock speed. 1,730 times faster, just in terms of raw clock cycles. But that's just the start, because the iPhone doesn't have one core doing all the work. It has multiple high-performance cores and efficiency cores, plus dedicated chips for graphics, machine learning, and signal processing. When you account for all of that, the performance gap becomes almost impossible to visualize. RAM. The iPhone 15 has 6 gigabytes of RAM. The Apollo guidance computer had 4 kilobytes. 1 gigabyte is roughly 1 million kilobytes. So the iPhone has about 1.5 million times more working memory than the computer that went to the moon. 1.5 million times more. The Apollo computer's entire RAM could fit inside the iPhone's RAM about 1.5 million times over. Storage. The base model iPhone comes with 128 gigabytes of storage. The Apollo computer had 74 kilobytes of ROM. It's storage, in a sense. 128 gigabytes is 128 billion bytes. 74 kilobytes is about 74,000 bytes. That means the iPhone has roughly 1.7 million times more storage than the AGC. You could copy the entire Apollo guidance computer's code into your iPhone's storage 1.7 million times, and you'd still have almost all your storage left over. You could then also store every photo you've ever taken, every song you've ever loved, every book you've ever read, and you'd still be nowhere near full. Weight. The iPhone 15 weighs about 171 grams. That's 6 ounces. The AGC weighed 70 pounds. Your phone is about 180 times lighter than the moon computer. You carry it in your jeans pocket without thinking about it. Power consumption. The AGC used 55 watts. The iPhone, when doing heavy tasks, uses maybe 5 to 7 watts. The Apollo computer used more power and did a tiny fraction of the work. Processing speed. Modern benchmarks put the iPhone's CPU at roughly 120 billion instructions per second. The Apollo computer managed about 43,000. That means the iPhone is, at a conservative estimate, roughly 100 million times faster than the machine that flew humans to the moon. 100 million times faster. Let that number live in your brain for a moment. And while we're here, do you know what else your iPhone has? A camera that shoots 4K video. A GPS system more accurate than anything in 1969. A real-time language translator. The ability to recognize your face in 0.3 seconds. Access to more information than the entire Library of Congress. The ability to video call someone on the other side of the world in high definition. A music library of 100 million songs. And an AI assistant that can write poetry, answer questions, and make you feel slightly uneasy about the future of humanity. The Apollo computer could add numbers really fast. That was essentially its job. And it did that job with incredible precision and zero room for error. But compare what it could do to what your phone does between the time you wake up and the time you leave the house. And you start to understand the scale of what we're talking about. Half a century of progress in the palm of your hand. Okay, let's do some side-by-side comparisons because I want this to really land. I want you to feel these numbers, not just hear them. Comparison 1, Storage. The Apollo guidance computer stored about 74 kilobytes of data in its ROM. A single uncompressed photo taken on your iPhone today might be anywhere from 10 to 30 megabytes. A 30 megabyte photo is about 400 times larger than the entire contents of the AGC's ROM. A single photo, not a video, not an app, a photo of your lunch. Now let's go bigger. A 2-hour movie in 4K might be around 50 to 60 gigabytes. That's roughly 800 million times larger than the AGC's storage. If you filmed a 4K movie on your iPhone and then tried to store it on the Apollo computer, you'd need about 800 million copies of the AGC's ROM to hold it. Comparison 2, speed. The AGC could do about 40,000 editions per second. Your iPhone's chip can do hundreds of billions of floating point operations per second. To put that another way, if the Apollo computer were a person walking at a normal pace, the iPhone would be traveling faster than light. Okay, that's hyperbole, but it captures the spirit of the difference because the numbers are so large they become meaningless without metaphor. Comparison 3, what the computer was asked to do. The AGC's sole reason for existing was to navigate one spacecraft from Earth to the Moon. That's it. That was the whole job. And it was stressed nearly to its breaking point doing that one thing. Your iPhone might be simultaneously running music, streaming, GPS tracking, monitoring your heart rate, and pushing notifications from 17 different apps, maintaining a VPN, syncing photos, downloading an update, and keeping your screen at the perfect brightness, all at once, without breaking a sweat. Comparison 4, memory in human terms. Let's talk about that 4 kilobytes of RAM again. Imagine you're a chef. You have to prepare a 7-course meal for 50 people, and you can only hold 4 index cards worth of information in your head. Now imagine that same chef suddenly has a library, thousands of books, every recipe ever written, real-time data from every kitchen in the world, and an assistant who can calculate anything in milliseconds. That's your phone. Comparison 5, the cost. The entire Apollo program cost about $25 billion in 1960s money, roughly $280 billion today. That's for everything. The rockets, the training, the ground teams, the suits, the computers, over 13 years. An iPhone costs about $800. It has a computer inside that beats the best technology that $280 billion could buy in 1969. And you can buy it on a payment plan for $33 a month. I want you to come with me for a moment. Close your eyes if you want. Okay, don't close them. You're watching a video. But just imagine this. It's July 20th, 1969. Mission elapsed time, 102 hours, 45 minutes, 40 seconds. The Eagle lunar module is 4 minutes from touchdown on the moon. Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin are standing because there are no seats in the Eagle, leaning forward, watching through triangular windows as the grey, cratered surface of the moon rushes toward them. Everything rides on the computer. It is the heart of this mission. It is calculating constantly altitude, velocity, fuel consumption, angle of descent, thousands of calculations every second. Or well, 40,000 additions per second, which in 1969 is as close to magic as engineering gets. And then beep, a red light. The 1202 alarm. Armstrong's voice crackles over the radio. 1202. Mission control goes silent. 26-year-old Jack Garman, who has studied every error code that could theoretically occur, who has handwritten them onto a sheet of paper, looks down at his notes. His hands are shaking. It's okay, he says. It's okay. Go. And they go. For 12 more minutes of controlled descent, Armstrong manually pilots the Eagle past a football field-sized crater, burns through fuel at a rate that has the entire mission control team holding their breath, and sets down on the Sea of Tranquility with 25 seconds of fuel to spare. 25 seconds. The computer did its job. On 4 kilobytes of RAM, 74 kilobytes of storage, it guided human beings to another world. Now, cut to this morning. A 17-year-old is lying in bed. Her phone buzzes. It's a notification from TikTok. She picks up her phone, which has 100 million times the processing power of the computer that landed on the moon. And she uses it to watch a 15-second video of a cat falling off a shelf. She laughs. She puts the phone down. She goes back to sleep. That is not a criticism. I've done the same thing. You've done the same thing. We all have. But it is, if you stop and think about it, one of the most surreal facts of our modern lives. We carry miracle machines around in our pockets and we barely give them a second thought. Armstrong stood on the moon because of 4 kilobytes of RAM. We watch cat videos because of 6 gigabytes of RAM. Both are valid uses of computing power. Only one of them would have made the engineers of 1969 weep with joy. So how did this happen? How do you go from a 70-pound computer that could barely do arithmetic to a 6-ounce glass rectangle that can do essentially anything? The answer comes down to one word: transistors. A transistor is, at its most basic, an incredibly tiny switch. It can be on or off, 1 or 0, 1. And by arranging billions of these tiny switches in incredibly precise patterns, you can build a computer that thinks. In 1969, the Apollo guidance computer contained about 4,100 integrated circuits, chips with transistors etched into them. This was revolutionary. This was actually one of the key reasons the Apollo program drove the creation of the integrated circuit industry. NASA was one of the biggest early customers for these chips, and without that demand, the entire semiconductor industry might have developed years later than it did. But those transistors were large, measured in micrometers, thousandths of a millimeter. The processor in a modern iPhone contains approximately 16 billion transistors, each just 3 nanometers in size. A nanometer is 1/1,000,000th of a millimeter. These transistors are so small that you can't see them with an optical microscope. They're approaching the size of individual atoms. We are at the edge of what physics allows, and we managed to fit 16 billion of them into a chip the size of your thumbnail. This incredible shrinking of transistors follows a pattern called Moore's Law, an observation made by Gordon Moore in 1965, just 4 years before the moon landing, that the number of transistors on a chip tends to double roughly every 2 years. And for 6 decades, that law has held. Not perfectly, not forever, but remarkably consistently. Every 2 years or so, double the transistors, double the power, same size or smaller. If cars had improved at the same rate as computers, since 1969, a car that cost $30,000 and went 100 miles per hour would now cost less than 1 cent and travel faster than the speed of sound. That's how fast computing has improved. But it wasn't just transistors, it was also software. The people writing code today build on decades of accumulated wisdom. The programming languages are better, the operating systems are smarter, the tools are more sophisticated, and crucially, we've learned how to make computers do things we never imagined they could. Recognize faces, understand speech, generate images, translate languages, play chess at superhuman levels, model the entire human genome. And then there's the economics. When only governments and huge corporations could afford computers, there was limited incentive to make them small and cheap. When personal computers arrived in the 80s, and then the internet in the 90s, and then smartphones in the 2000s, suddenly there were billions of potential customers. And that competition drove innovation at a pace humanity had never seen before. The Apollo computer was built in a world where computing was a scarce, expensive, almost sacred resource. Your iPhone was built in a world where computing is as common as electricity. And just like electricity, you don't think about it until it's gone. Here's something that genuinely messes with me when I think about it too hard. The Apollo program, the entire moon mission, consumed the intellectual output of roughly 400,000 people over a decade. Engineers, mathematicians, scientists, technicians, sewers, welders, test pilots, and programmers. A nation's entire technological might pointed at a single goal. And the result, the computer at the heart of it, would be outperformed today by a graphing calculator. Not even a smartphone, a graphing calculator. The kind students buy for $100 to pass high school math class. The TI-84 calculator that students have been complaining about for decades, that calculator is more powerful than the Apollo guidance computer. And your phone isn't just more powerful than the AGC. It's more powerful than all the computers in NASA's Mission Control Room in 1969, combined. Let's try another angle. You know how we talk about artificial intelligence now? Machine learning, neural networks? Your phone has enough computational power to run versions of those AI systems locally, on the device, without connecting to the internet. The Apollo computer couldn't even do long division without a workaround. Now imagine you could travel back to 1969, right to mission control, moments after the moon landing. The room is erupting in cheers. Cigars are being lit. Grown men are crying. And you walk up to one of the engineers and you say, "Hey, in 55 years, a teenager is going to carry a device in their pocket." It is 100 million times more powerful than your best computer. It will fit in one hand, cost less than a week's salary. And most people will use it primarily to watch videos of dogs reacting to strange noises. That engineer would probably think you were insane, and then they'd probably try to steal your phone. What we take for granted is a miracle, every single day. Every time you unlock your phone and it recognizes your face in a fraction of a second, that's a miracle. Every time you speak into your phone and it understands you, that's a miracle. Every time you take a photo in dim light and it comes out sharp and bright and beautiful, that's a miracle. None of it is magic. It's all physics and engineering and software. But the gap between what humans could do in 1969 and what we carry around in 2024 is so vast that it deserves to feel magical. So here's the final thought I want to leave you with. On July 20th, 1969, a human being stood on the moon and looked back at Earth. And what held that moment together, what made it possible, was a computer with 4 kilobytes of RAM and the courage of the people who trusted it. Today, that same amount of data, 4 kilobytes, wouldn't even store a low-quality emoji. It's less than nothing by modern standards. It's rounding error. It's the digital equivalent of a single grain of sand. And yet, those 4 kilobytes helped do something that had been a dream for all of human history. They helped us leave the ground, leave the atmosphere, leave the planet, and come back. Your phone is 100 million times more powerful than that computer, and we haven't been back to the moon since 1972. So maybe the question isn't, how is our phone more powerful than the moon computer? Maybe the real question is, what are we doing with all that power? What are we doing with 100 million times the computing power of the Apollo mission? What problems are we solving? What dreams are we chasing? Because the people who built the Apollo guidance computer were working with almost nothing, and they changed the course of human history. Imagine what's possible now. The future isn't written yet, and somewhere out there, someone with a phone that fits in their pocket is going to use it, and 1,000 other tools, to do something that will make the moon landing look like a short drive to the grocery store. The only question is, will it be you? Alright, we made it. If your brain is slightly broken right now, mission accomplished. Look, if this video made you stop and think about the absolutely insane world we live in and how much we take for granted, then hit that like button. It takes literally less processing power than the Apollo computer used to turn on a single light. Actually, it takes way less. You get the point? Just press it. And subscribe to BizarreVersus, because this is what we do here. We take the bizarre, the unexpected, the mind-bending comparisons that nobody seems to talk about, and we hold them up to the light. Every week, new comparisons, new rabbit holes, new reasons to feel existentially astonished by the world around you. Now, I want to hear from you. Down in the comments, what blew your mind the most? Was it the 4 kilobytes of RAM? The 1202 alarm? The cat video comparison? Or something else entirely? Tell me. Argue with me. Tell me I'm wrong. That's what the comments are for. And while you're down there, what should we compare next? Because trust me, there are comparisons out there that make this one look like a warm-up. Drop your suggestions. Until then, keep questioning everything. Keep being amazed. And remember, the thing in your pocket is a miracle. Maybe use it like one. I'm out. See you next time on BizarreVersus.